Hi, this is PatZi with a Z. Welcome to Joy on Paper Live, a program for writers and those who dream of writing, and for everyone who wants to know the story behind the book. And I've got some spooky stories behind today's book, and I am so happy to welcome Christa Carmen, Bram Stoker Award-winning author, and the new book is something. There's a little hint there right behind her. She's got that beautiful mirror, and it is cracked, and that plays a little bit into our story, how to fake a haunting, because Krista's great at that kind of thing. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me back. Lovely to be here again.
I'm always happy to have you back because I you were here for this book, Beneath the Poet's House, which I love so much. I have recommended it to so many people because they said this is
Oh,
just such a great read. And so I was happy that you now came out with a new book, and here it is, and there it is, How to Fake a Haunting. And you're up in
thank you.
Newport, right?
Well, I'm in Westerly. The book is set in Newport. I'm in Rhode Island. I'm a bit south of Newport.
Newport at this time of year is so beautiful. They decorate everything for Halloween and pumpkins all over the place, the fall. Exciting place to be.
It's gorgeous. I always actually, it's funny that you say it's a beautiful time of year to, it's like, I never can quite tell what the best time at the mansions is. It's like at Christmas time, and the Christmas decorations and the trees are unbelievable. Halloween and all the fall decorations. Summertime, it's beautiful because everything is so green and lush.
And spring
Um,
with the daffodils.
and then spring. And spring is nice because it's the daffodils and all the spring flowers and just like things budding. But also, there's like hardly any tourists there at that time. I don't know. It's a toss up.
Yeah, I was so amazed by the number of daffodils they have there.
It's impressive.
It is very impressive, and I love daffodils. That's we don't get them moved from Florida to Texas, but we don't get daffodils here. And when I was a kid, that was my favorite flower.
Yeah, they're beautiful. I love them too.
I still remember that I had this jumper with a daffodil on it when I was a little girl, and that was my favorite one. I wore it until even when it was getting too small. I remember I said my mom had to cut that daffodil off because I wanted it. So,
Oh, yeah, they are beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
but your book is coming out at the right time. How to Fake a Haunting.
Yes.
Whoa. What are you going to tell us about this? It is twisty, it's clever, it's domestic horror. And of course, as I mentioned at the beginning, you are a Bram Stoker award-winning author. And you can tell us a little bit if you all also, what other awards have you won? You've been nominated, I know.
Yeah, the my first novel before Beneath the Poet's House, and I thank you again for recommending that book to people. I really appreciate that. So my first novel, The Daughters of Block Island, won the Stoker Award for superior achievement in a first novel, and it was also nominated for a Shirley Jackson Award, which was very cool. And then this past year, I co-edited and had a story in a book called Monsters in the Mills, and it's a New England-based horror anthology of all, mostly Rhode Island, but also just a bit more extensive New England writers who we tackled the themes of the abandoned mills that are so prevalent across the New England landscape and used that as the backdrop for different types of horror stories. And that book was it was like the little engine that could. We didn't, it was like our little passion project. And it was nominated for a Shirley Jackson Award and an Australasian Shadows Award and a Ditmar Award. It didn't win anything, but like 3 nominations, I'll certainly
That's
take.
pretty good. Those
Yeah,
are prestigious awards, and when you get nominated, it's really great. It's really great.
thank you. Yeah, so it's been a fun couple of years with the novels and the anthos. And then as far as I think you said, tell us what how to fake a haunting is about. So it's set in Newport, and it's about a woman named Lainey who is married to a man that's oh, you're there still, right?
Yeah, I'm here, but I wanted
Okay.
everybody to see your mirror and you. You look so
Perfect.
beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Yes, so it's about Lainey. Lainey Taylor is a woman who's married to I describe him as like an alcoholic, but not on paper. So he's never had a DUI. He hasn't lost his job. From a judge's perspective, he would look great on paper, not like an alcoholic. And yet he's slowly ruining Lainey and her daughter Beatrix's lives. And she wants to divorce him. She's basically threatened by his very wealthy and influential family. They've got a lot of ties to the sort of infrastructure of Newport, the police, the hospitals, the court systems, that if she were to try to divorce him, she's not only not going to get full custody, she's not going to get any custody. So she and her wild and crazy best friend Adelaide come up with a plan to stage a haunting at the house, so convincing and progressive, like it slowly progresses to the point where it's very realistic. They're going to fake a haunting in the house to drive him away. And the book is about how that unfolds and the repercussions of them sort of messing with things that they don't fully understand.
I like horror books. I've always liked them. As a kid in northern Michigan, there were a lot of old Victorian houses from the rich people had in those days. And I had a friend who had an aunt who had one of those houses. And it's exactly the idea of a haunted house.
Yes.
And we used to play games, and we were always doing tricks actually on her. And she was old, and now I realize we're crazy. There were high stairs and everything. But in this case, you modernized it a little bit for a nice new house and lots of clever ideas, which I think are fun. That mirror behind you, which is so beautiful.
Thank you.
I don't know if you got it because of the book or...
So I moved into my house about 10 years ago, and when we moved in, the living room, for some reason, we never spent a ton of time decorating. We just had like hand-me-downs from my parents and my husband's parents, and I just was like, I want to redecorate my living room to be a little more of my aesthetic. And I had just finished this book, and I was like, oh, it'll be fun to get like a cool Gothic ornate mirror anyway, just because that's like my taste. And I had just finished the book, and the mirror arrived in that condition. And I was just like, oh my goodness, you have got to be kidding me. And of course, as you could imagine, a lot of times with big companies and returns, they were like, no, we don't want you to ship us a broken mirror back. We'll just do whatever you need to do with it. Throw it away. And I was like, no, I will not be throwing this away. This will be the backdrop.
It is. It's perfect. I can see many publicity photos with you now. Using that mirror in the back. It looks so cool.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah. And you know,
and when you and I got on, actually, you briefly saw like my dog's tail kind of flat, but sometimes I see movement in it and I'm like, is that the dog or is that something more?
So having this interest anyway in occult and some other practices, that some of it showed up in the Poet's House. Tell us about this interest that you have in it.
Yeah, I think I'm interested in aspects of the occult and darker things, and from two perspectives. There's a bit of, I live in 2025 and I'm on Instagram, and I do love like a good Gothic witchy aesthetic, like just from a straight enjoyable, like Pinterest board-esque kind of vibes. Like I like something like this mirror. You can probably see maybe a little bit behind me. I've got like a framed photo of Edgar Allan Poe, like a drawing rather, a sketch of Edgar Allan Poe that I had got from when the second book came out. I love like old dried flowers. I don't know, like weird random stuff, right? Amethyst spears. I just had a really wonderful friend get me this, let me see how, this very cool image of a woman from a film that's a fake medium. So she's like faking a seance in this photo. It's from a film called Seance. I've got tarot cards, and yeah, so from just like these are just the things I like and I like to decorate with. But I'm also really interested in everything that I mentioned from a more practical and historical perspective. I also, one of the books, I'm like trying to look for, I'm sitting obviously facing my desk, and I've got like a ton of my research books up above me. And then I've got behind my computers like some of the more recent research books that I've used. And I just love delving into the history of dark and spooky and occult things. Like I've got like a Vexed with Devils book up there. I've got the history of ghosts. I've got haunted New England, haunted Rhode Island, Food for the Dead, On the Trail of New England's Vampires. I just find it so fascinating. To me, like I have, so say that Food for the Dead book, which is about all of the people in New England that were exhumed from their graves across like the even 16, 17, 1800s because they were thought to be vampires. I pulled out a story from that, the novel that I actually got my literary agent with, but didn't end up selling. But the novel was about Mercy Brown. And yeah, I picked out to me, the most interesting historical figure that like came from Michael Bell's research. But I could pick up that book right now and find within an hour 7 more things that I want to write about. Like I could find 7 short stories worth or little tidbits that were interesting to me. So to me, the occult, spooky history, historical sites, they're just like you cannot deplete those resources. If you're somebody that's interested in those things and also creative, oh, look, the dog has seen something in the mirror. If you're a creative person and somebody interested in those things, I just feel the well is never dry.
Exactly. I think you have so much to draw upon. Some of the ideas that you got for this book. Oh boy. Oh boy. The idea of how to rid yourself of a husband without actually murdering him has crossed many minds.
Sure. So it was I think sometimes people look at the sort of elevator pitch for the book and think that it could be very almost like horror humor, like horror comedy. We're going to haunt this husband right out of the house. And I actually worked really hard to make it. Yes, it is a pretty bonkers idea. And would it work? I think I did my best to portray it in a way. It's an idea that you have to suspend disbelief to get behind, but I tried to do it in a way where you had to suspend the least amount of disbelief. Obviously, Callum's alcoholism makes him a bit less of a reliable narrator. Like he's the prime target for something like this because you've got somebody that's not maybe totally grounded in reality. Like my favorite scene in the book, and it's not my favorite scene in the book, but one of my favorite scenes that illustrates this point that I'm making, and it's not spoiling anything, but just the fact that like he's home one afternoon drinking, and every time he like goes to the bathroom or makes another drink, Adelaide is hiding in the house and she's like moving the furniture. And it would be pretty hard to pull that off on somebody who wasn't drunk. But then again, somebody who's completely 3 sheets to the wind at 4:00 in the afternoon, yeah, you probably could pull it off pretty easily. So I tried to take each individual aspect of the haunting and make it as realistic as possible.
And definitely you do, because it is fun. The ideas are clever and you pull it off with a lot of style, and I think that's fun. And I also like the idea of, I like Lainey. I like her very much, and of course her daughter. So when you came out with the idea, how did you come out with the idea? Who was the inspiration? What was the inspiration?
So the inspiration was actually pretty humorous. I've told this story a few times, but I don't think it gets old, and my husband has given me permission to tell it. But I was supposed to deliver a 3rd book to my publisher, and they weren't super on board with the idea that I came to them with. It was a totally different, it was not modern. It was set in like the 50s and 60s. It had a dual location, dual timeline. It was like cult horror meets dark academia. And it was not as focused. It was, somebody is not getting enough attention apparently.
Adorable.
So she thinks it's her dinner time. I don't know. She's lost the ability to tell time today. But yeah, so I unexpectedly got thrown back to the drawing board with needing an idea for a new book. And I was in panic mode of, okay, I need to come up with a new book idea. So I was in that space where anything was potential inspiration. I was like looking around everywhere, falling back on like ideas that I'd partially formed before. And I ended up just having a regular old night of relaxation with my husband. We were going to sit down, do that thing that many a couple, partners, roommates, friends, you sit down, you go to pick out a movie together, and you spend so long picking out the movie that like inevitably one of you is going to fall asleep. So on this particular night, my husband won. He picked out the movie and then promptly fell asleep. So I was like extra grumpy, like, you won and you picked out the movie and then you fell asleep. My phone was in the kitchen charging, and I grabbed his phone and took a picture of him sleeping, because in the morning I was going to be like, look, this is the timestamp of when you fell asleep. Excuse me. And then for whatever reason, probably because I was in panic mode of everything was potential novel inspiration, I'm like, I took this picture of him sleeping on his phone. I texted it to my phone. And then I went in the kitchen and I got my phone. And I came stomping back into the living room loud enough to wake him up. And I was like, why did you set, what is this, some kind of weird joke? Like what did you think? I went in the bedroom? Like I fell asleep first? Like you fell asleep first. Why are you texting me a picture of you sleeping? And he was like disoriented. And what are you talking about? And I just committed to it like really fully and was like, I don't know what game you're trying to play here, but you texted this picture of you sleeping to my phone. I don't know what's going on, but cut the crap. I am gonna go to bed now. And I got him to the point where he was like, all right, listen, if you're not messing with me, we have a problem. Like we either have an intruder or a ghost because I didn't take this picture. And finally I caved and laughed and was like, that's what you get for picking the movie and then falling asleep. And then I thought that was it, right? Like I just played this little silly prank on him and we were going to go to bed and whatever, finish the movie the next night. And then I couldn't stop thinking about it because I was like, that's super interesting. What if somebody had a reason to keep up that charade? And then just the wheels were turning. And yeah, I mean, to me, after that point, it all fell together very easily. It was like, why would a woman have, like you mentioned earlier, like the idea of getting rid of your husband, your problematic husband, partner, whatever, without having the means or ability to divorce and not wanting to murder them. This seemed like a cool route to explore.
Yeah, it is. I think it is a good idea because I do know a girl who wanted to get rid of her husband, so she was going to hire like a lady of the night to seduce him, and then she would have evidence. But she didn't pull that one off. But she finally just walked out actually with her fondue pot. And
oh my gosh, that's a very funny story. But like a great example, right? Because sometimes we think that like somebody going to these lengths is crazy, but people are not always rational. Like people's decisions don't make sense to people on the outside of a situation pretty much ever, even if it's something way more mundane than, like, a lot of times we have friends that like stay in jobs that we don't understand why they stay in jobs that they do or why they stay in relationships that they do. And it's because when you're in whatever the situation is, there's so much context that people outside of you don't understand. So yeah, yes, this was an idea that was like fun and exciting enough to get me a book, have the publisher be like, yes, this is the book that we would like to move forward with. But I honestly don't think it's as unrealistic, at least the setup of it. Like things might get a little crazier towards the end of the book. But yeah, people have done far stranger things to get out of a bad situation.
True, that's true, absolutely. So when you told your agent, now let's go back a little bit. You talk about having an agent. When you first started writing, how did you get it? Is this the same agent you started off with, or did you?
Yeah, so I have an editor I've done 3 books with the same publisher and I've had the same main editor. And then, yes, I've had the same agent. So I got my agent. I went out on submission with this Mercy Brown novel in probably end of 2020, beginning of 2021. And she loved the book and we signed together. But we ultimately weren't able to find a place for this Mercy Brown novel. But she's a really wonderful agent and patient and encouraging and positive, and was just like, that's okay, go write the next one and we'll sell that one. And that was The Daughters of Block Island. Yeah. And yeah, I'm still working with her. So I sent her the next book just recently, and we're going to see where that one goes.
That's exciting. First, to be able to get an agent. When that happened, how did it feel to get an agent? Because so many authors are out there trying to get agents and they can't, and you got one. So it was.
Yeah, I don't want to say at the time it felt great, and like now not so much. That's not what I was going to say at all. Like at the time, you think that's it. That's the thing that you needed to get to make all these other things possible. And it's true. That's oftentimes the first step to making other things possible. There's pretty much every bigger publisher with bigger distribution and marketing and all that they don't take unsolicited, unagented submissions. So you need the agent to have the opportunity to get in front of those editors and publishing houses. But I also think it's important to talk about it in both directions, right? So if you're a writer trying to get an agent and you haven't done it yet, I think like it takes a lot. So I queried the agent that I have now. So I said I signed with her in 2021. I queried her in 2014 with the first novel I ever wrote. And she, along with every other agent that I queried, did not take it because in hindsight, that novel was a mess. And I wasn't ready to be a published novelist then because I had not figured out how to write a decent novel back then. But I didn't get, you get frustrated. You get,
the important thing is you can't give up. You have to keep trying.
Yes, if it doesn't work.
Too many times people give up.
And I guess, so that's like going in the direction of if you don't have an agent, don't give up, because if you keep working and you keep working and you keep working on your craft and you keep submitting, eventually your odds are nothing if you give up. So they can only get better if you keep trying. But then the other part of it, and this is sometimes even harder to explain, and I think I talked about it just a little bit when I said we didn't sell my first book. Almost keep your expectations in check when you get an agent, because oftentimes people think like you get that and you've succeeded there and then everything's going to be smooth sailing from there on out. And that's not true either. Like the whole game of writing and publishing is, I've seen like a lot of blog posts recently too. I think there was Sherry Priest had a really insightful blog entry about essentially playing the long game, as the dog is once again checking out the ghosts in the mirror. Too funny.
Cute.
But playing like the long game as a writer and, you know, what success really looks like. And then there was another blog post I just saw recently, and I'm blanking on who the author was. But it was essentially like the most important thing that you can have as a writer isn't necessarily talent, even though talent or hard work, you definitely want and or need both of those things. But I think the title is something about the most important thing in writing is like sheer grit, and just not letting, you're always going to have setbacks or things that don't go the way you wanted them to go, or goals that you thought you would reach that you didn't. So I guess, I don't know, not to sound too much like a writer's Hallmark greeting card, but like it is important to love doing it separate from anything, because it's not, what's the point?
It is exactly what I say. You have to feel that joy on paper, that you love it so much, that you're so eager to get your words down on paper, and you're so eager to do the research. The research is so much fun. So many people don't realize, outsiders, they think they see a book and it's a novel and there's some facts in it and some things in it. They don't realize how much work goes into reading all of that and discovering and it's sometimes one book of 400 pages can give you one little idea. And it's like it's like a gem. You're reading the book and suddenly, oh my gosh, this is a pearl. This is a diamond. This one little paragraph. Isn't that
Yeah,
exciting?
it's so true. And then the other side of that is that sometimes you do all the research and it does help you with the book, but there's not like a single line in your book that you end up writing that is actually pulled from that research. So it's like a good example. Like sometimes I do research on a specific piece of architecture and I spend like all this time and then it doesn't really make its way into the book like directly, but all the research that I did maybe helps me like paint the setting of the house better. Like you can do all this research and it only gives you a vibe and not a
Well,
line, if you will.
yeah, all of the research actually enriches not just your books, but also your mind. And it's there, it's always there in the back. So, whatever you've done, and then
Yes.
you'll see something, you'll hear somebody say something, you'll hear some dialogue, might be in a restaurant, and suddenly you'll say, ah, geez, I know where that's going to go. And that's the exciting thing about being an author. You really,
Yes,
really have so much
absolutely.
fun with that.
Yes, absolutely. I think I did that at the Newport Mansions. There's one chapter in this whole book that actually takes place at the Newport Mansions, but all of the like the two visits that I took there to like Breakers and Marble House and Rosecliff while writing the first draft of this book, so many things still worked its way into the atmosphere of things and like the way Lainey and Adelaide talked about their work there together. Excuse me, because Lainey and Adelaide both work for the Preservation Society of Newport County in the book. So I like needed to have this foundational knowledge, but it's not like I was necessarily pulling lines of history from
But it's
Newport
there. And
tour
as I
guidebooks
was
or
reading the book, I was reading about them. I kept thinking, "Oh, you two have the best jobs. This
I
is, if
sounds
you're going
really
to work,
fun.
that's something to work. That is so much fun."
Yes, absolutely.
Now, of course, with the poets, it was. I know it was very successful, and everybody loved it. And I think I know the people that who I've recommended it to, and people who my friends, my girlfriends, even they'll say, "Oh, Beneath the Post House is one of their favorite books."
That makes me so happy to hear. Thank you.
Because it's just a great read. It is absolutely a great read. And Allan Poe never goes out of style. So you're always
Agreed.
safe with that. And about that burst of work that you did on that and the reaction, and did you have an opportunity to go to events and places to meet some of the fans of the book?
It's very funny that you ask that. So, in writing, and I'm like looking around for my own copy, but I don't even see what, I don't know where all my books are right now. Oh, they're like over there. I I reached out when doing the research for Beneath the Poet's House to, at the time, somebody that I did not know at all. I just knew that he ran an Edgar Allan Poe walking tour of Providence. So Poe spent obviously time in Providence, and there's a tour guide. His name is Levi Leland, who runs a walking tour of Poe's Providence, and he also operates an Edgar Allan Poe in Rhode Island website, and it's anybody who is interested in Edgar Allan Poe, Levi's website about Poe's time in Providence is the most comprehensive, laid out, researched collection of articles and anecdotes and essays and information, descriptions of places and people. So I was seeing all this online and seeing the tour dates, and I just reached out to him and was like, "Hey, I'm doing this book. Here's the concept for it. I'm this far in. Do you think you could meet me for a chat about some questions that I have?" And we ended up becoming friends, and he helped me so much with the book. And just this year, just last month, he got tapped by an imprint of Simon and Schuster to write this pocket book of Edgar Allan Poe. It's like it's a beautiful book, and it's a biography of Edgar Allan Poe, but it's a bit condensed, the most important things you need to know. So it's a great gift book. It's a great like crash course. It's a great resource. And so he and I actually have an event together next Saturday, not the coming November, whatever it is, November 1st, we have an event Saturday, November 8th at Symposium Books in Providence to talk about our books together. And he, from doing his walking tours in Providence, he became friends with one of the people who lives at 88 Benefit Street in Sarah Helen Whitman's side of the house. And so this lovely woman was amazing enough to open up her home to Levi and a few select, like a smaller subset of people that were later going to go to like a book launch event in the Rose Garden at 88 Benefit Street. But we were able to go into Sarah Helen Whitman's home. And it was just such a surreal experience, having spent a year of my life inside that house, but in my head, and just looking at pictures online and imagining things and recreating. And yes, it was really cool to go in there and stand up on her balcony and see the view that she would have had. And it was awesome. And I'm so thrilled that Levi was able to publish a book. And yeah, we do have like crossover fans, like people who have read my book have gone in, because there's an afterword, and I like give Levi a shout out and explain how he has the website and the tour. And yeah, then there are people that have stumbled on Levi or taken his tour and he's mentioned my book. It's been very lovely. It's been a fun little...
October, Poe died 176 years ago. It was in October. I don't remember the date, but it's funny when you read his work now, today, it still seems so fresh.
Yes.
It doesn't, when you think, oh, it was written 176 years ago, and maybe because it is a certain genre that you think it's not going to be as, but it's amazing. It reads, it's so fresh. And what an amazing writer.
Yes. Another, like I was saying earlier, with just certain things having no end to things that you can, like, Poe's work is always a place to go for inspiration.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you, as you said, you lived in that house, and you certainly take the readers to that house. And of course, I suppose at some point it's going to be optioned. And
that would be lovely.
I would think so, because it would make a great film. The storyline is great. The location is, you can't beat that. And it's a subject that people don't know about, and they'll find really intriguing, because I didn't know about that connection to the house. And I've been reading Poe, of course, all my life. So I found it fascinating.
Have you checked out Levi's website before? Because you'll see, it's just so cool you'll see where I got a lot, even more of my inspiration from just the images, the photographs of Sarah Helen Whitman in her seance garb was like a huge inspiration for me writing that seance scene. It's just very cool.
Now, have you ever been to a seance?
Funny story, at StokerCon this year, it was held in Stamford this year. It's like the big horror writers convention. Yeah, I don't know how it happened, but there was like a couple horror authors, like Lisa Morton, who's just like the queen of Halloween and the queen of the HWA and just horror writing in general and horror nonfiction. It was like her and Frances Pye and myself and Victoria Dalby and like a whole group of us. I don't know, one person said it, and then it just went like wildfire through this little group that was in this area. And I was like, you want to do a seance? Do you want to do a seance? Do you guys want to do a seance? And we just ended up in this like empty auditorium and had a seance. Nothing exciting happened, although that's not entirely true. Again, breeding ground for like ideas. So we had the seance. It was just very fun. A woman led it, and it was more of a guided meditation of sorts, but it was very cool. And then, yeah, I've heard multiple stories of the writers that were in that space at that time being inspired to go on and write stories based on them being pulled into that room at that time. I think sometimes we have this definition of what a seance is and what needs to be accomplished. You have to see something supernatural for it to have worked, but from a create, like, I love that book, Literary Witches. It's illustrated by Katie Horan, and it's by, I'll look it up right now so I don't, Literary Witches. The author is Thaisa Kiraskia. I always pronounce her last name incorrectly, but she's a very cool writer. She writes a series of books called Ask Baba Yaga or Ask Baba Yaga, depending on how you want to pronounce it. It's this cool book about how women writers are essentially witches and how creative work can be like spell casting. So it was like that. PatZi, can you hold on 10 seconds so I can, my dog is going to start barking. I'm just going to let her out of the room so she stops bothering us.
Okay. And if we see something strange happening, I always like to find bits of history that I don't know. And so I didn't know about this story. And it's a wonderful read. Here at Halloween time, we are.
All right, sorry about that.
That's okay. That's okay. We like dogs.
She's always high maintenance.
Yeah, you don't have a black cat yet.
No black cat, no. I do have chickens, which I know I just mentioned Baba Yaga. I feel like the old chicken coop can sometimes be weirdly witchy and fun.
I used to have chickens when I was a kid.
Oh, nice. Did you?
Farm. I liked feeding them.
Yeah, they're fun. My daughter enjoys them as well. But yeah, ultimately, like, Beneath the Poet's House, check out Levi Leland's new book. You'll fall down the same kind of rabbit hole that I did with Poe and Whitman. It's so fun.
So how old is your daughter? Is she reading your books?
She's not reading my books yet. She's 5. However,
she's a baby.
So I actually I feel silly mentioning it like it's a bit of a brag, but I do feel like it's so indicative of my experience with her. So I actually just had an article, like a guest essay, I guess, in People magazine online. They published this really nice piece that I wrote about my daughter's love of spooky things and where I think that kind of stemmed from, which I don't necessarily think is because I write spooky things. She just always had this cool fascination with, so I think her love of scary things came from her love of scary stories. And her love of scary stories was just like, she always was just a huge lover of books. But I just always found it so interesting with her that any book, so if we had 2 books and we had Goodnight Moon and then we had, I don't know, like a Hansel and Gretel retelling, she loved all books. Like, she loves Goodnight Moon, she loves classics, she loves any book really, but you could see her eyes light up instantly from such a young age at books that had higher stakes. If there was a monster, if there was something shadowy in the woods, if there was danger, those stories she just from the very beginning was just way more fascinated by. And I think it just took off, and now she's interested in spooky all the way.
Okay, are you going to write some kids' books?
So she and I have written some children's books just like for fun for us. My agent doesn't rep children's books. I have not gone and tried to shop these around anywhere. I am writing a middle grade kind of book that's it's like an Alice in Wonderland kind of thing, like a girl, like Wizard of Oz, like girl falls into another world kind of thing. But a bit on the spookier side, like higher stakes, more danger, ghosts, creepy things, creepy forests. And that's also just for her, but at the same time, it's a middle grade novel, so I've already put a lot more time and effort and thought into it. I don't know, maybe when it's all done, I'll do something with it. I have no idea.
Why not? Why not? I can see a book called The Little Girl Who Loved Witches.
That's a great title and very fun. I would read that.
That'd be nice. What's she going to dress as for Halloween?
Yes, this was a very big decision. We had to do 1 year of checking that box and doing the Addams Family. So she's Wednesday, I'm Morticia, and my husband is Gomez, and then we're gonna strap thing to the top of my dog somehow.
We'll look, probably you'll put photos on your website.
I will, yes.
Yeah, that'll be
Probably
great.
Instagram if you're interested.
And the article that about your daughter is in where?
It's in people.com, and it's called Why My 5-Year-Old Has Always Loved Spooky Season, and not just because I write horror novels. So it's like an exclusive piece.
Put a link to that when I
Yeah, thanks.
That'll be fun. I think you're a fascinating writer, very talented, and it's lovely to talk to you. I love that idea of the mirror. I'm trying to think how you can trick people and maybe have somebody, you could maybe drive somebody crazy who comes to your house and they don't know about this.
It's true. I did read, I haven't looked into it too much, but I read that there's stage spray, like when in a stage production, if they're trying to make it so that a mirror doesn't have a reflection, you can spray this stuff on the mirror, but that also hairspray works. So I thought it might be cool to spray the mirror with hairspray and then you look into it and you don't have a reflection. I've been definitely playing with some ideas of like how to
I think play with it. It's perfect. It was meant to be. It was meant to be that it would break.
It arrived on my doorstep that way.
That's so great. Again, it's just wonderful to talk to you, and both books are great, and I want to show people your website so that they can go there. And let me see where I can find it. I have it here. And there it is, Christa Carmen.
Thank you. That's it. And thank you so much, as always, for you always do.
People, you can get both of the books, and Beneath the Poet's House, and of course this one, which I think is really fun and clever.
Thank you.
There's somebody over the years that I would have liked to drive crazy, but it's fun. It's a good read. So Christa Carmen, thank you so much for joining me today on Joy on Paper Live. And people, you can go to the website, ChristaCarmen.com. And I know it's on sale, not just online. I know bookstores are also carrying it. So it'll be in Barnes & Noble for sure.
Yeah, it should be. And if...
too.
Should be.
So,
well,
again,
thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been a joy to talk to you. Make sure if you get optioned on Beneath the Poet,
I will let you know
on Joy on Paper Live. Okay?
I will. That would be so fun. Thank you.
Because I don't have a lot of breaking news. That would be lots of fun. Okay? Thank you. Again.
Noted. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye now. Bye.
Bye.
Just ring that bell. Thanks.